In the world of progressive metal, technical ability alone is never enough. The genre demands something more: precision, creativity, discipline, musical intelligence, and above all, the ability to transform complexity into emotion. For more than 3 decades, one musician has embodied all of those qualities with almost superhuman consistency: John Myung. To casual listeners, he may appear quiet and reserved, almost hidden behind the massive wall of sound created by Dream Theater. But among musicians, especially bass players, John Myung is considered one of the most respected and technically advanced bassists in modern music history. His speed is astonishing, his endurance is legendary, his precision borders on mechanical perfection. Yet, despite his incredible technical reputation, Myung has always remained focused on something deeper: serving the music. From groundbreaking albums like Images and Words Awake Metropolis, Part 2, Scenes from a Memory Train of Thought, to sold-out world tours and progressive metal masterpieces, John Myung helped redefine what bass guitar could become inside heavy music. But his journey began long before Dream Theater became a global phenomenon. It began with discipline, dedication, and an obsession with musical mastery. This is the story of John Myung. Before we continue, subscribe now, like this video, comment, and share. John Roe Myung was born on January 24, 1967, in Chicago, Illinois, to Korean immigrant parents. Shortly after his birth, his family relocated to Kings Park, Long Island, New York. Growing up in a traditional Korean household, discipline and education were extremely important. Like many children from immigrant families, Myung was encouraged to develop focus, structure, and strong work ethic from an early age. Music soon became a central part of his life. At first, John studied violin as a child. That classical training would later become incredibly important because it introduced him to music theory, harmony, phrasing, precision, technical discipline, all elements that would eventually define his bass playing. During his teenage years, however, another instrument began capturing his attention: the bass guitar. And once he discovered it, everything changed. Unlike many young musicians who casually practiced after school, Myung became intensely dedicated. Friends later described him as almost obsessed with improvement. He practiced constantly, hours upon hours every day, not for fame, not for attention, but because he genuinely wanted to master the instrument. That mentality would eventually separate him from nearly everyone around him. While attending John F. Kennedy High School in New York, Myung met 2 musicians who would change his life forever: John Petrucci and Mike Portnoy. The 3 quickly became inseparable. They shared a deep passion for music, especially bands pushing technical and compositional boundaries. Groups like Rush, Iron Maiden, Yes, Genesis, Metallica, Pink Floyd became major influences. But perhaps the most important influence of all was Rush. Bassist Geddy Lee especially had a profound impact on Myung's understanding of progressive bass playing. Lee demonstrated that bass players could simultaneously handle melody, rhythm, harmony, technical complexity. That concept deeply inspired Myung. Soon, the trio began dreaming of creating their own progressive band, one capable of combining heavy metal aggression with jazz-level musicianship. That dream would eventually become Dream Theater. In 1985, Myung, Petrucci, and Portnoy enrolled at the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston. For ambitious young musicians, Berklee represented opportunity at the highest level. The environment was intense. Students practiced relentlessly. Competition was everywhere. But for Myung, Berklee became the perfect training ground. His understanding of harmony rhythm, odd time signatures composition, technical execution expanded dramatically. However, something else was happening simultaneously. The band project between Myung, Petrucci, and Portnoy was evolving rapidly. Originally called Majesty, the group began writing increasingly ambitious material. Eventually, the name changed to Dream Theater. And shortly afterward, Petrucci, Portnoy, and Myung made a bold decision. They left Berklee to pursue the band full-time. It was a massive risk, but history would prove it was the correct one. In 1992, Dream Theater released the album that changed everything: Images and Words. The record became one of the most influential progressive metal albums ever made. Songs like Pull Me Under, Metropolis Part 1, Learning to Live, introduced audiences to a level of technical musicianship rarely heard in heavy music. And beneath the guitars and keyboards, John Myung's bass playing became one of the band's defining elements. Unlike traditional metal bassists who mainly doubled guitar riffs, Myung created independent bass movements full of counterpoint melodic phrasing, rhythmic displacement, advanced harmony. His bass parts often functioned almost like a second lead instrument. For musicians, it was mind-blowing. John Myung's technique became legendary for one reason: consistency. Night after night, tour after tour, album after album. His accuracy remained almost unbelievable. Myung developed an extraordinarily fast fingerstyle technique capable of executing complex progressive metal passages with surgical precision. He became especially known for three-finger-plucking rapid alternate fingerstyle advanced muting techniques, odd-meter phrasing, complex synchronization with drums. Unlike flashy performers focused on stage theatrics, Myung's energy stayed concentrated entirely on the instrument itself. He rarely moved excessively, rarely spoke during concerts, rarely sought attention. Instead, he allowed the music to speak for him, and the music spoke loudly. One of the defining aspects of Myung's sound was his adoption of the six-string bass. While extended-range basses already existed before him, Myung helped popularize them within progressive metal. The additional strings gave him enormous harmonic freedom. He could access deeper low frequencies, piano-like chord voicings, extended melodic ranges, complex tapping sections. This allowed Dream Theater's arrangements to become even more sophisticated. His bass no longer functioned simply as low-end support. It became an orchestral instrument, massive, flexible, almost limitless. Over time, his signature Yamaha basses became closely associated with his identity. Their clarity and articulation perfectly matched his highly detailed playing style. In 1999, Dream Theater released what many fans consider their masterpiece, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. The album was ambitious in every possible way. A full conceptual narrative, complex recurring musical themes, technical precision on an extraordinary level. And throughout the record, John Myung delivered some of the finest bass work of his career. Tracks like Dance of Eternity, Home, Finally Free featured incredibly advanced rhythmic interplay between bass and drums. The Dance of Eternity alone contains over 100 time signature changes. Yet Myung navigated the composition with astonishing precision. For bass players worldwide, the album became essential study material. Even today, many musicians still consider it one of the greatest progressive metal albums ever recorded. One of the most fascinating aspects of John Myung is his personality. Despite being one of the most technically respected musicians in metal, he has always remained extremely reserved. In interviews, Myung often speaks calmly and thoughtfully. On stage, he rarely behaves like a stereotypical rock star. No dramatic speeches, no exaggerated ego, no constant spotlight-seeking behavior. Instead, he projects focus, discipline, concentration. Many fans have described him as mysterious, but musicians often see something else: humility. Because despite his extraordinary abilities, Myung consistently places the music above himself. That mentality earned him enormous respect throughout the music community. Very few progressive bands survive for decades. The genre itself is difficult. The music is demanding, and maintaining creative chemistry over long periods is incredibly challenging. Yet, Dream Theater endured, and John Myung remained one of its core foundations from the very beginning. While trends in popular music constantly changed, Dream Theater continued building a loyal global audience. Part of that longevity came from the band's refusal to simplify their music purely for commercial reasons. They trusted their audience, and fans respected that authenticity. Myung's disciplined musicianship became symbolic of the band itself: precise, intelligent, ambitious, and uncompromising. Today, John Myung's influence can be heard across the world of progressive metal and technical bass playing. Modern bassists frequently cite him as a major inspiration, not only because of his speed or technical skill, but because of his musical mindset. He demonstrated that technicality without musicality means very little. Every note had purpose. Every rhythmic pattern supported the composition. Every complex passage served emotional impact. That philosophy helped shape an entire generation of progressive musicians. Countless YouTube bass covers, instructional videos, and music schools now analyze Myung's techniques in extraordinary detail. And younger musicians continue discovering Dream Theater every year. For many of them, John Myung becomes the reason they pick up a bass guitar in the first place. Some musicians become famous because they demand attention. Others become legendary because their work becomes impossible to ignore. John Myung belongs to the second category. For more than 30 years, he helped redefine progressive metal bass, playing through discipline, innovation, technical mastery, humility, musical intelligence. He proved that bass guitar could function as rhythm, harmony, melody, atmosphere, orchestration, all at the same time. And perhaps most impressively, he accomplished all of this while remaining deeply committed to the music itself, rather than celebrity culture. In a genre built on complexity, John Myung brought clarity. In a world obsessed with ego, he brought focus. In the history of bass guitar, he built a legacy that continues inspiring musicians across generations. Because sometimes, the quietest musicians leave the loudest impact. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next video.